I'd like to try to get
Big toast to Elizabeth and Brandon and Liz and her homes, but that's kind of weird. So when I first met Brandon, it was over a FaceTime call, and he just was the kindest person I had met for this. Like I just knew when I met him on FaceTime that he was going to be around for a long time, and I'm glad he stuck around. I think you're really special, and I think you're great for this, and you compliment her in ways that she needs to be complimented, and you compliment him as well, and I'm really nervous talking and I'm emotional. But I think you guys are a great pair, and I'm so happy that my sister found someone like you. And I guess I want to tell a funny story about Bibbs. So, being that like I'm the older sister, I'm very like protective and like, you know, just I think she doesn't know what she's doing, even though she does. But I just assume she doesn't. And when we were little, Bibbs used to do this really funny thing. We would walk home from school every day. And she would like cross the road when there were cars coming, and she wouldn't look both ways. And I'd be like, Bibbs! And I would freak out. And I'd come home with my mom like, Bibbs never listens to me. And I was just always this overprotective sister. And I just love you so much, and I'm so protective of you. And I like cried immediately when you walked down the aisle today, because I can't believe my baby sister is getting married, or that you are married. So cheers to Brandon and Bibbs. We're so happy for them. May you guys be in love forever and ever, happily ever after.
Hey everybody, I'm Ian, Brandon's brother, also his best man, so that means he gave me a microphone and an outline for a speech, so here goes nothing. So, Brandon, kind of like the blessing I like to pull from scripture, there's this moment where Jesus stands up and he goes, you know, if I can feed the sparrows that cost 2 cents, how much more can I feed you? If I can clothe the grass in the field, how much more can I clothe you? So, Elizabeth, this may be a sign of joy or a warning. If Brandon acts this way before marriage, how much more will he act this way to you as a spouse? So, I'm going to share some qualities about Brandon and some stories that go along with that. So, Brandon cares deeply for others. Even as a young infant, I was 3 years old, we were visiting my grandparents' house, and you know, those drown spouts that they had to cover their window wells were really bouncy, and so I'd show them how bouncy they were. They'd go from one to the next. The next one I knew, I fell through the drown spout, and I went, oh my gosh, like Brandon's freaking out, he only knows like 3 words, so he just runs around going, my Ian, my Ian, my Ian, my Ian. And he runs in and he just like, he didn't know much, but he knew to care for those around him. And Brandon carried that through with more words later on, but that was as a 1-year-old, I was thinking pretty impressive. And then he's also very resourceful for whatever's around him. So whenever we'd go on Mondays to my grandparents' house, we'd get out of school early, we'd go over there and we'd play horseshoes or something. Brandon goes, oh, I want to pick flowers for Grandma. And so, we'd be walking along and I'm saying, Brandon, we got to get to Grandma's house, Brandon, we got to get to Grandma's house. Yank him by the arm. And he's over there picking dandelions, grabbing stuff up. And we get to Grandma's house and he goes, here, Grandma, I got you a beautiful bouquet. And she thought it was the sweetest thing in the world. And I went, sorry, Grandma, we're like 5 minutes late here. I'm so sorry about that. But, Brandon kind of goes with the flow, but he's very resourceful and very caring. I'm glad you started. I'm glad I started with those stories because now you think he's sweet. Brandon has this activity where he likes to be cool. He does this thing where you go, you won't, or I won't, or you better do that. And it always leads to doing weird things. So we'd always go to the park behind our house and we'd swing on these vines, these weeping willow trees. And I'd swing on one that was like 5 feet off the ground. I'd be like, oh dude, that was so awesome. Did you see how I landed? And Brandon's like, oh yeah. 20 feet up in the air, he climbs the tree, jumps on the vine, falls, hurts his back, and goes, oh, ow. And I go running away to try and get somebody help, he's injured. And by the time I get back, he stood up like nothing was wrong with him. later to know he became a rugby player, so thanks guys. And then Brandon can take the boring and make it fun. You know, there's been moments where you just sit around and you're like, there's nothing we can do today, and Brandon just makes it awesome. So growing up, we would always play hide and go seek tag. And when I say hide and go seek tag, I mean this is like high school age. We're gonna go play hide and go seek tag. Everyone in black, we're gonna put on the black face paint and everything, go all out. We're hiding, we're like diving over cars, like tagging base, everything. We go all out. And that became like, I don't know, a nightly thing after playing it twice, dude. But it was like, took this boring, mundane thing and made it like a super fun thing. So you gotta look forward to that, you know. Never say I'm bored at night, you never know what's gonna happen. And then Brandon doesn't know when to quit. So, you know, this comes into his rugby days. You know, a couple times that I remember, once he came back from Ireland, and I hugged him, and he goes, ow, 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 don't do that. And I can't lift my arm above my shoulder, and like this. And he was playing rugby with a dislocated shoulder and a dislocated rib in Ireland for like a week. We didn't know it. He like went to a chiropractor, popped it back in, but apparently he just didn't know when to quit. He kept playing rugby. Same story, same rugby. Went down to visit him, and he had, I don't know, he bandaged himself up, I don't know, tape around his head, bandage around his thumb, shoulder brace on. Looked like he should have been in a hospital, but he's like, oh, I'm getting ready to play rugby, guys. I'm gonna go out and do this. Hence, he got the name Old Man once, just because he looked like such an old man because he was injured and beaten up. But still, he played an awesome game, got like man of the match or something weird like that. So, dude, he was awesome. In summary, Brandon cares deeply, he's resourceful, he's cool. He makes boring things fun, and he doesn't know when to quit. So this brings me to my last story, which ties all of those together. I have to preface it with it's a bedside story, and by that I mean Brand has this tendency to come in at 2 a.m, wake me up. I'm like half awake, half asleep. And he's like, Ian, I had this coolest thing happen. I was like protecting this girl, almost got stabbed, you know, talked to the girl, came to Jesus, and she's coming to church on Sunday. And I'm like, great, Brandon, and I fell back asleep. So, you know, take that with a grain of salt. This might be half true, half false, but this was a bedtime story. So Brandon and his friends, you know, he cares deeply about his friends, and they're in high school. And one of his high school buddies, he had a huge crush for one of these girls, and his birthday was coming up. And, you know, one of their, you know, great ideas, I'm not going to say who it is because I think he's in the room, but they like put him in proper swimming attire. That's because we were swimmers, so, you know, Speedo. Tied him up, drove him out, placed him in front of someone's house, rung the doorbell. Him and the guys went down the street, and this guy's like bouncing around and tied up, not knowing what's going on. Parents answer the door, I don't know what's going on here. But man, dude, those stories as friends, man, he cared about him deeply. He thought it was cool at one point. You know, he's very resourceful, and dude, he was having fun out of the whole situation, dude. Did I get you embarrassed with that one? Was that a good one? But I have to say, in all seriousness, above all else, guys, Brandon has a strong faith. He would talk to guys in the church parking lot late in the evening, tell them about Jesus. He would go on a walk in the park. He'd see somebody, and he's like, you know what? I feel like these people need to have a conversation that leads to Jesus. And you know, if you look around this room, and a lot of these guys, they were impacted by those conversations, those stories, those late nights, things like that. But that leads me to my advice to you both. You guys have the biggest hearts. You both love each other. You meet and care each individual, and you love them with a burning passion. And as you struggle, as you kind of go through these crazy situations and stories, just know that you have God first in your life. Allow Him to shape your marriage and shape your lives together as you draw closer to one another. And all I can say, though, Brandon, is if you did all of that as a single man, how much more are you going to be doing in marriage? So, a toast to Brandon and Bibbs. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Ian and Samantha. Next, I'm gonna welcome up Brandon's parents. Here they are, Wes and Amy.
First of all, I'd like to just thank everyone for being here and just how much it means to us to share this day of celebration with all of you. So thank you for being here with Bibbs and Brandon as we celebrate their relationship and the start of their marriage. And it's just the beginning of the journey. And we have loved Bibbs ever since we met her. And so it is just such a privilege now to be able to call you our daughter. And so welcome to the family, Elizabeth. And I'm going to turn this over to Dad.
Where do I start? As you both heard yesterday from this whole group, just what incredible love and admiration they have for you guys. And you've got incredible groomsmen and bridesmaids up here that each love you. And so it was just great to hear those stories. Brandon, you are a man of God, and your heart of hospitality and your care for people is incredible. The way people say they can count on you anytime they need something, or just someone to talk with, you are always there. Those are wonderful skills, but remember, now you have to make Elizabeth your first priority. Ask her permission before you invite a group over for a game night or a barbecue night. Make sure that she's included in that. Bibbs, as Amy mentioned, we have loved you from the moment that we met you. That courageous meeting was only a week after you two started the date. 2 weeks after you started the date. And you came over and met the whole family. That was just incredible. We love the way that you constantly care for people and you have a genuine heart for people. We love both of you so much and know that God will bless your marriage in so many ways. So here's to the two of you as you start your incredible marriage. I love you guys.
And last and certainly not least, I'd like to welcome up Elizabeth's parents. Please welcome Mark and Deanne.
Well, I noticed that they have their phones with things that they've planned to say, and I don't. I was dreading, oh my goodness, what are we gonna say? And just now, I'm like, what do we say? He said, whatever you want. I'm like, no, that doesn't work. I, of course, love my Bibbs. She's my baby, she's my snuggle. I knew she was in love with him, and shortly, I mean, she was dating a few other guys. I should really go this place, But you know, this is where I go. So she was dating a couple, and she's like, Mom, I really like this one guy. And I'm like, no, you don't. Then she's like, yeah, I'm gonna get rid of so-and-so and this other guy too. And I'm like, oh, brother, now she's gonna get hurt again. And I'm like, no, Bibbs, just keep dating, just keep. And she's like, no, Mom, I like this guy. He's the one. And I'm like, no, it's not. And I'm thinking, 6 months from now, he's gonna break her heart, and I'm gonna be really pissed. But it turned out that he's a very, very nice guy. He does treat her very well. He brings out, I know all the other guys said, oh, he brings out the best in everybody. And it's like a common theme, but he really does. Elizabeth, in a previous world, had just a different personality in some areas, and he helped her through a lot of that and changed her to be who she really is. She's a beautiful, wonderful, loving, giving, kind, the list goes on. I don't have the thesaurus going here. And my mouth is really dry. I am very nervous. So Brandon came to our house for Thanksgiving because they were gonna ask for, him and Alex were gonna ask for our daughter's hands. And we knew it was coming. Brandon was so funny in the kitchen. My husband and him got along really well with barbecuing, and And Brandon was just so nice and so cute with everybody. And it wasn't fake. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be nice and then go in the room and complain. No, he actually was nice to people, and it was fun. We really enjoyed having him. And I'm really glad that he loves the cat Jubilee and the dog Riley, because those are part of Bibs. And I really don't know what to say now, and I'll just keep rambling, so.
So I too would like to thank everybody for taking the time to share this day with us. There's got to be a few people in this room that are wondering, why the heck do they call this girl Bibs? Like, where does that come from? So just to give you a little bit of background, when Elizabeth was about 9 years old, she used to go lock herself in a room and she'd read books. She'd read books that were 800, 900 pages long, right? So we were convinced that she was, and when she was in middle school, she would write these amazing stories that you would think were written by a professional author, like somebody that was grown and that's what they did for a living. And to turn the clock back, it's kind of funny that she has those skills, because when she was little, she used to always get her words mixed up, back to front, front to back. She called her sister Manta because she couldn't say Samantha. So we called her sister Mantha, we still do. And she's 20, how many years now? So Elizabeth, when she was little, people would ask her what her name was, and she would say E-Bibbeth, because she couldn't say Elizabeth, right? So E-Bibbeth, and over time it just got a little bit shorter, and it eventually ended up as Bibbs, right? So it's amazing that somebody with those writing skills and those English skills would have that propensity to change their words back and forth, right? But she was always had a tremendous imagination, you know, she'd play with her cousin and her friends, and they always had these imaginary friends. And one time I was backing the trailer up on the side of the house, and she goes, "Oh, Daddy, you ran over Buddy." And I'm like, "Where's Buddy?" And I'm looking underneath the trailer, and there's no Buddy. Well, Buddy was an imaginary friend. He was only there to Elizabeth, right? So, needless to say, that's just a couple of funny things. I've got one other little funny story that I think I'll share with you guys. And when she couldn't have been any more than about 3 years old. We had some family get together. She was always kind of the ham. She was always trying to be funny. And all of us were in the kitchen preparing food. Everybody was over, and Elizabeth was playing with her cousins. And the next thing you know, I look at her, and she's got this rock in her hand. And we had a metal banister in the front of our house, and she's making this noise with the rock on the banister. Tink, 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 tink. She kept doing it. I said, "Bibbs, what are you doing?" And she goes, "I'm making rock music, Dad." So now some of you know Elizabeth a little bit better. She's incredibly important to us. We're proud of both of our girls. I've got to share with you guys that if you have daughters, or when you have daughters, nobody will be good enough for them, right? So I met Brandon, and I thought the same thing Deanna did. He seems like a really nice kid. He seems genuine. It wasn't until yesterday that all of you stood up and said what a tremendous guy he is, right? And that's what really convinced me that my daughter made the right choice. So raise your glasses. Here's to Elizabeth and Brandon. Congratulations, you guys.
Today is definitely about you two, but many of you may not know that Ian, Brandon's older brother and best man, is celebrating his 4-year anniversary 2 days ago, so congratulations, you two. And they are also preparing a new Tuttle on the way, so that's awesome. And again, I said this is not a coincidence, but Brandon's parents, Wes and Amy, 2 days from now will be celebrating their 30th wedding anniversary. And so congratulations, you two.